Welcome back to our series on the life of Daniel. If you missed part 1, where we saw Daniel and his friends start their new life in Babylon, be sure to check that out. Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible stories of faith and courage ever told, the story of the fiery furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of the mighty Babylonian Empire, was a man who liked to think big. One day, he decided to build a massive statue of gold. This thing was colossal, 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. He set it up on the plain of Dura and sent out a decree to all his officials, governors, and leaders across the land. Everyone was commanded to come to the dedication of this golden image. So, a huge crowd gathered. You can just imagine the scene: officials in their finest robes, a massive golden statue glinting in the sun, and an air of anticipation. Then a herald shouted out the king's command: "When you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." The stakes couldn't have been higher. It was a simple, brutal choice: boo or burn. As the orchestra began to play, a wave of motion swept across the plain. Thousands of people, from every nation and language under Babylonian rule, fell to their knees. But not everyone. Standing tall amidst the bowing crowd were 3 familiar figures: Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Remember them? These were the young men who had already proven their commitment to God by refusing the king's rich food. Now they faced an even greater test. They knew the first and second commandments. "You shall have no other gods before me, and you shall not make for yourself an idol." For them, bowing to a statue, even a king's statue, was a direct betrayal of the one true God they served. Their defiance did not go unnoticed. Some of the Babylonian astrologers, likely jealous of the Hebrews' success in the king's court, saw their chance. They rushed to the king and said, "May the king live forever! You issued a decree, O king, that everyone must bow and worship the golden image. But there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who pay no attention to you, your majesty. They neither serve your gods nor worship the image of gold you have set up." You can imagine Nebuchadnezzar's reaction. He was a proud and powerful king, not used to being disobeyed. The Bible says he was furious with rage. He summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Standing before the fuming king, they must have felt a chill, despite the heat of the day. The king gave them one last chance. "Is it true," he demanded, "that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image? Now, when you hear the music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" Think about that question. What God will be able to rescue you from my hand? From Nebuchadnezzar's perspective, it was a rhetorical question. He was the most powerful man on earth. His will was law. His power was absolute. No one and no God could stand against him. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had a different perspective. Their response is one of the most powerful declarations of faith in the entire Bible. They calmly and respectfully replied, "King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand." They declared their absolute faith in God's power to save them. But then, they added something even more profound. "But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Let that sink in. Their obedience wasn't conditional. They weren't saying, "We'll be faithful as long as God rescues us." They were saying, "Our God is able to save us, but whether he does or not, our loyalty to him is non-negotiable." Their faith wasn't in the outcome. Their faith was in God himself. They would rather face death than dishonor their God. This bold response sent Nebuchadnezzar over the edge, his face distorted with fury. He ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. The fire was so intense that the flames killed the strong soldiers who were tasked with throwing the 3 men in. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, bound securely in their robes and turbans, were cast into the heart of the inferno. To every human eye, this was the end. A gruesome, fiery execution. The king and his counselors watched, expecting to see them instantly consumed by the flames. But what happened next was utterly miraculous. The king leaped to his feet in amazement. He turned to his advisors and asked, "Weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" They replied, "Certainly, your majesty." The king exclaimed, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." Inside the furnace, where death should have been instant, something incredible was happening. Not only were the 3 friends alive, but they were walking freely. The fire had only burned away their ropes, setting them free. And they were not alone. A 4th figure was with them, a glorious divine being protecting them from the flames. Nebuchadnezzar, completely stunned, approached the opening of the furnace. The man who had just challenged any god to rescue them now found himself face to face with a power he could not comprehend. He shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out! Come here!" So they walked out of the fire. A crowd of officials gathered around them, examining them in disbelief. Not a hair on their heads was singed. Their robes weren't scorched, and there wasn't even the smell of smoke on them. The fire had touched nothing but the ropes that bound them. The proud king was humbled. He made a new declaration. "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God." He then issued a new decree, this time protecting the worshippers of the one true God. And he promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to even higher positions in the province of Babylon. This story isn't just a dramatic tale. It's a powerful lesson about unwavering faith in the face of impossible circumstances. It teaches us that true courage isn't the absence of fear, but obedience to God despite our fear. And it shows us that even when we walk through the most intense trials, we are never alone. God is with us, in the very heart of the fire. Join us next time as we return to Daniel himself, who will face his own life or death test in a den of lions. It's another story of incredible faith you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button, share it with a friend, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you don't miss the next part of this amazing journey. We'll see you in the next video.